The church wasn't there, I'm certain of that, because 5 minutes earlier we'd been standing on the exact same hill looking across an empty valley. There was nothing below us, just overgrown farmland, dead trees, a dirt road disappearing into the fog. Then Ryan pointed behind me. Was that always there? I turned around. A stone church stood in the middle of the field. Its bell tower rose above the fog as if it had been there for centuries. None of us had heard construction. None of us had seen it while driving in, and somehow, none of us remembered walking far enough to lose sight of the valley. The church simply existed. This is Tales of the Dark. A subscriber recently shared this experience after he and 4 friends explored an abandoned farming region that locals had avoided for decades. The names and location have been changed, but every event has been told exactly as it happened. It started as another weekend road trip. There were 5 of us, me, Ryan, Chris, Ethan, and Tyler. Our plan was simple. Drive through an old farming district that had slowly emptied over the last 30 years. Most families had moved away. The remaining houses were abandoned. Collapsed barns, rusted tractors, broken fences. It looked frozen in time. Ryan loved filming forgotten places. His YouTube channel wasn't huge, but he enjoyed documenting abandoned towns. That afternoon we stopped at a tiny roadside diner. Only 3 people were inside, an old waitress, a farmer, and another elderly man sitting alone by the window. Ryan unfolded a paper map. Know any abandoned places around here? The waitress immediately looked away. The farmer lowered his coffee cup. Neither of them answered. Finally, the old man spoke. Stay off Hollow Creek Road. Ryan smiled. Why? The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he folded his newspaper, looked directly at us, then quietly said, if you find the church, don't go inside. Chris laughed. What church? The old man frowned. The one that shouldn't exist. Nobody said another word when we left. I noticed the waitress watching us through the diner window. She looked worried, not frightened, worried, almost like she already knew where we were going. An hour later, we found Hollow Creek Road. The asphalt ended after a few miles. The dirt road narrowed between endless fields. Old telephone poles leaned at strange angles. Most of the farmhouses had collapsed. Some still had curtains hanging in broken windows. Others looked untouched, as if people had simply disappeared. Tyler slowed the SUV. This place is creepy. Chris checked the GPS. We are still on the road. Ryan pointed ahead. Let's stop here. We parked beside an abandoned farmhouse. The front door hung open. Inside, everything remained exactly where the owners had left it. Dinner plates still sat on the table. A calendar hung on the wall. October. Dust covered everything except one chair. It looked recently moved. Ryan filmed for a few minutes. Then we continued walking through the fields. The deeper we went, the quieter everything became. No birds, no insects, no livestock, nothing. Only the sound of our boots against dry grass. Eventually we climbed a small hill. The valley stretched beneath us, empty, just farmland disappearing into the fog. Ryan began setting up his drone. Chris unpacked his camera. I looked down at my phone, no signal. When I looked back up, Ryan wasn't watching the drone anymore. He was staring past me. Guys, his voice sounded different, confused. I turned around. The church stood behind us. Grey stone walls, tall stained glass windows, an old bell tower perfectly intact. None of us spoke. Tyler finally whispered, where did that come from? No one had an answer because it hadn't been there. It couldn't have been. We all remembered looking across that exact field moments earlier. There had been nothing. Ryan laughed nervously. Maybe the fog hid it. Chris shook his head. No, I would have seen the tower. There wasn't a single road leading toward it. No parking lot. No pathway, just waist-high grass surrounding the building. We walked closer. The church looked maintained. The stone walls were clean. The wooden doors had fresh varnish. The stained glass wasn't cracked. Someone had even placed flowers beneath one of the windows. Fresh flowers. Ryan checked them. They're real. The front doors stood slightly open. Inside, everything looked untouched. Long wooden pews, Lit candles, fresh white cloth covering the altar, not a single cobweb, no dust. No sign of decay, yet there was no electricity. Chris walked toward the altar. Someone has to be taking care of this. He called out, "Hello." His voice echoed through the empty church. Nobody answered. Then the bell rang, one loud chime. Every one of us jumped. Ryan looked toward the tower. There has to be someone upstairs. We searched every room, storage closets, side halls, a tiny office. Nothing, no people, no footprints, nothing. The staircase leading into the bell tower ended at a locked wooden door. Ryan pushed it. Locked, yet the bell rang again directly above us. Tyler stepped backward. "I don't like this." Chris ignored him. Instead, he began taking photographs. The sunlight through the stained glass created incredible colors. Ryan filmed every corner. We stayed inside less than 20 minutes as we left. I looked back once. Something felt wrong, not dangerous, just wrong. The pews, I counted them, 10 on each side, 20 total for some reason. I couldn't stop counting. That evening we drove back to our motel. Ryan connected his camera to his laptop. "Let's see what we got." The footage looked perfect. Beautiful shots of the countryside, the abandoned farmhouse, the church. Then Chris opened his photographs. The first few looked normal. The exterior, the altar, the stained glass windows. Then he stopped scrolling. Nobody spoke. "What?" Ryan asked. Chris slowly turned the laptop toward us. The first photograph inside the church showed exactly what we'd seen. 5 empty pews, the altar, nobody else. The second photograph showed 6 people, 5 of us, and someone sitting alone in the last pew, a man wearing a black suit. Head lowered, hands folded. None of us remembered seeing him. Chris whispered, "I never saw him." Ryan leaned closer. Next photo. The third image appeared. The man was gone instead. 2 people now sat in different pews, both wearing black. Both looking toward the altar. Tyler frowned. Zoom in. Ryan enlarged the image. My stomach dropped. Neither person had a face, just smooth skin where their features should have been. Chris's hands began shaking. No, there weren't any other people in that church. Ryan opened the next photograph. There were 4, the one after that, 7. Every new picture contained more people, sitting silently in the pews, all facing forward. None of us had noticed them while we were inside. Then Ryan opened the final photograph. Nobody breathed. Every pew was full, dozens of people, all wearing black. Every single one was now looking directly at the camera. Nobody said a word. Ryan slowly zoomed in on the last photograph. Every pew inside the church was occupied. Dozens of people, men, women, children. All dressed in black. Every head turned toward the camera. Watching us, watching Ryan. Nobody smiled, nobody blinked, nobody looked surprised. They simply stared. Chris whispered, "There weren't that many people in there." There wasn't anyone. Ryan opened the original raw file. Same image, no editing, no corruption, no AI artifacts, nothing. Tyler tried laughing. "Maybe reflections." Chris immediately shook his head. There weren't enough pews. Ryan enlarged the image again. The people looked incredibly detailed. Wrinkles, buttons, hair, even individual threads in their clothes. Then Ethan pointed toward the front row. "Who's that?" A little girl, maybe 10 years old, unlike everyone else. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking directly behind it, as if someone had been standing next to Ryan when he took the picture. Ryan checked the video footage. Everything looked normal. The church was empty, no people, no movement, only us. Chris frowned. "So why are they only in the photos?" Nobody answered. That night, none of us slept well. The next morning, Ryan made a decision. "We're going back." Tyler immediately refused. "No, I'm done." Ryan leaned forward. "We missed something. There has to be an explanation." Against my better judgment, we all agreed. By noon, we were driving back down Hollow Creek Road. The abandoned farmhouse was still there. The broken fences, the fields, everything looked exactly the same, except the church was gone. The hill where we'd first seen it was empty, nothing but tall grass. Ryan stopped the SUV. "This has to be the place." "It is." Chris checked the GPS coordinates from yesterday's photographs. Same location, same hill, no church. We searched for almost 2 hours, nothing. Then Ethan called us over. You guys need to see this. Hidden beneath weeds, we found an old stone foundation, barely visible. Just enough to suggest that a building had once stood there. Ryan brushed dirt away from a rusted metal plaque. Most of the writing had disappeared. Only one sentence remained readable. First Church of Hollow Creek established 1891, Chris quietly said. So there was a church. Ryan nodded. Maybe it burned down. Just then, we heard a truck approaching. An elderly farmer stopped beside us. He rolled down the window. You boys lost. Ryan pointed toward the foundation. We're looking for the old church. The man's expression changed instantly. There hasn't been a church here in over 40 years. What happened to it? The farmer stared at the ground. It collapsed. No one rebuilt it. Ryan hesitated. We were inside it yesterday. The old man looked directly at him. No. You weren't. Then he drove away. None of us chased him. Something about the way he answered made me believe he wasn't lying. Ryan decided to fly the drone. Maybe we had somehow gotten the location wrong. The drone climbed above the valley, fields, roads, abandoned farms. No church then. The live video feed flickered. Chris froze. What? The drone camera had turned by itself. It now faced something behind it. The church, standing alone in the middle of the valley, exactly as we'd seen it yesterday, except the drone wasn't anywhere near that location. Ryan checked the GPS. The drone hovered directly above us. The church wasn't below it, yet it filled the entire camera screen. The bell began ringing. 1, 2, 3 times. Static swallowed the image. The signal died seconds later. The drone crashed when we recovered it. The memory card was missing. Ryan searched everywhere. Nothing. It had vanished. By late afternoon, we gave up. Nobody wanted to stay after sunset. As we walked back toward the SUV, I looked over my shoulder one last time. The hill was empty. Then, for just a second, I thought I saw the bell tower, a thin grey outline disappearing into the fog. I convinced myself I'd imagined it. We left. None of us ever planned to return. 3 weeks later, Chris called me. You need to come over. His voice was shaking. Ryan had finally recovered deleted files from one of the cameras. There was one photograph none of us remembered taking. It showed the 5 of us standing outside the church, facing the front doors. The problem, none of us were looking at the camera. We were all looking upward toward the bell tower. Ryan enlarged the tower window. Someone stood there watching us, an old priest. Long black robe, hands folded, expressionless. Chris whispered, "Zoom in more." Ryan did. The priest wasn't watching us. He was looking past us, toward the photographer, toward whoever had taken the picture. But Ryan had been holding the camera. There shouldn't have been anyone else. Then Ethan noticed something worse. Count us. Ryan counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, a 6th figure standing between me and Tyler, perfectly still, wearing black, its face blurred beyond recognition. None of us remembered that person being there. Ryan checked the file information. The image had been taken 43 seconds before we arrived at the church. That wasn't possible. The timestamp matched every other photograph. 43 seconds before we first saw the building. Someone had already photographed us standing in front of it. Months passed. Life slowly returned to normal. Then one evening, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single photograph, not printed on modern paper. Old, faded, black and white. The First Church of Hollow Creek, standing exactly where we'd found the foundation. A congregation posed outside. The date written on the back read, October 12, 1936 at first. It looked like any old church photograph. Then I recognized the faces. Ryan, Chris, Ethan, Tyler, me, standing in the front row, wearing clothes from another time behind us. The priest rested one hand on my shoulder. Someone had written one sentence beneath the photograph. "Thank you for coming back. I never discovered who mailed it. County records say the church burned to the ground in 1981. The bell tower collapsed the same night. No photographs survived. No congregation remained, according to every official record. The building no longer exists, but every autumn, around the same week we visited, people driving along Hollow Creek Road report hearing church bells echoing across empty fields. No church, no congregation, just bells. If you ever hear them, don't follow the sound, because some places aren't abandoned, they're simply waiting for their next service. If you are brave enough to hear more nightmares, subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare. And if you've ever experienced something you still can't explain, leave it in the comments or send your story by email. Maybe your nightmare will become the next story told here.